Well, we had a political week dominated by the secret ministries of Scott Morrison. It began with some very earnest news conferences and ended with a flurry of memes that Scott Morrison responded to on his Facebook. Joining me now is Sarah Ison from The Australian, Tom McElroy from The Australian Financial Review. Thanks both for your time. How do we end the week? We've got Monday where the sort of legal advice will be clarified as to what happens there. Labor's not touching the Governor-General aspect of this, which I get why they want to make it all about Morrison, but we don't really need to find out more about what the GG did, didn't we?
Absolutely. I caught your chat with Jenny McAllister, who absolutely was saying he did what the PM said to do, and that's completely what he should do. And you're right, didn't touch it at all. I think what's interesting now at the tail end of the week, you're having the Republican movement come out a bit more strongly now. Today, they came out with a release sort of saying, this is clear that everything we've seen in this week, not just Morrison, but the GG, etc., is showing how this system is broken, it needs reform, and actually we need to form our own republic. So that's sort of something that they've jumped on as well, and I think that's what we might be seeing a bit more on. I doubt the questions are going to end from here, not just with the GG, but also with others. Who knew what when? Is anyone telling some porkies in terms of I had no idea? Yeah. Those questions will continue into next week.
I think, so this is a really interesting point I find, because the anti-Republican argument has often centred on, we've got this system, who are you going to vote in? Who's going to be the president? Who's going to be the safeguard? The current safeguard we have is sort of convention. People argue even what a GG should do. Legal experts this week have said he should have at least told Morrison, tell the ministers what's happened, maybe tell the public. So it just highlights the current system we've got is full of grey area, and no one dares to no politicians dare to question the role or say, give us more detail.
Yeah, there have been a few instances in political history where the norms have been tested and stretched and put under pressure. This is an example of that. But you're right, the system relies on people's good judgment, people following conventions, and when they're broken with, we get into trouble. I think Labor's smart to keep the focus on Morrison. I don't think they want to destabilise the Governor-General. Don't forget, they're trying to change the Constitution to introduce recognition of Indigenous Australians. They don't want a republic debate in this term, they want it in the next one. Andrew Podger, the former public service chief, was on the radio this morning saying he would have expected that it was the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet and the PM who were required to gazette these changes, and if someone said not to gazette them, it was probably the political actors, not the Governor-General.
No, but then the question comes whether at least he gives that counsel, and you say, well, who cares? But it's pretty hard to defy that advice once you get it, because if it comes out, the GG said this and then I didn't.
Yep.
That's where the power of the Governor-General, I think, comes in. It's not that he defies him, but he says, I believe you should make this public. And if it comes out that he didn't, then you're going against the Queen's representative. So that's the sort of subtle power of the Governor-General, I guess.
And the Australian people and this Parliament have the right to know exactly who did what in that circumstance. This is the constitutional conservative side of politics. Don't forget, Scott Morrison believes in this institution. Don't weaken it. Explain what happened.
Some of his colleagues suggesting his belief in that maybe never as strong as we thought. So Labor on this, do they pivot and sort of go, so many big issues for them, right? I mean, EVs is another one today. How are you going to make sure road users pay taxes, the Jobs Summit, inflation? Do they handball this off to, I don't know, a Mark Dreyfus and say, this can be your thing that you run with when you after Monday, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
After Monday, but they just need to be wary of saying something that doesn't actually affect anyone's lives. It was a great week. A lot of people probably had fun with it. They've dragged Morrison through bad headlines, but you can't do it forever.
Yeah, I agree with what Tom's saying there, them trying to keep the focus on Morrison and using it to score more points against kind of the coalition. It's representative of Morrison not having trusted his coalition partners, and the coalition is in disarray. That is political ammunition for Labor, and they're going to want to keep that in the back pocket. So when it comes to continuing this probe and looking into this and asking these questions, I think they want that bubbling away in the background to then use to launch attacks against Morrison and in tandem the coalition to sort of talk about how they are in disarray and really put focus on those divisions, especially as we've seen between the Nationals and the coalition the last couple of days. But possibly not with as much fervour and focus as this week, because exactly right, they've got a lot to do, as Tom's saying, other constitutional changes. They're going to start to need to work with the GG. If we do keep looking at this with such intensity, the questions for the GG will probably continue along with the story, right? And then it does get complicated.
Yeah, you can't just have one part of it going.
Yeah, cherry pick one.
The GG part.
Totally.